Hi, I'm going to start with a little bit of background about myself. Myself, Sangeeta Krishnan. I currently work as an analytics lead at Bayer. I started my journey, as many people, in coding as a programmer, as a web developer, and slowly moved into different kind of roles and currently work as an analytics lead, overseeing all the needs of the business, whatever in whichever way we can help them support to make better decisions. So that's a little bit about my professional experience. A little bit on a passion side, I will say, I took the time to write a book which was launched last year. The book is not a technical book, it's not a coding book, but it is a fun read for anybody who wants to survive in data world. The book was written with a mindset that not everybody has a data background, and somebody may want to get into data background and data management roles, which is a lot of things you have to understand to get into those roles. So my book covers a lot of aspects of such things, not really a coding book. So if somebody wants to check out that book, you're free to check it out. The name of the book is Striving in a Data World. This is how the book looks like if somebody wants to take a look. And one additional key piece I wanted to say is my background is more of working in different industries and also companies of different sizes. What I mean by that is I have worked from Fortune 500 companies to not for profit and anything in between. So I kind of understand the pain of data strategy and data tactics and data analytics in companies of various sizes. One size fits all doesn't work because a data strategy for a small, very super small company will be very, very different than a much larger corporation. So, when we talk about data strategy, I'm only going to cover three major pitfalls and how, as an organization, we can avoid it. So if you see at the right side of the screen, there are different emojis I generated. As you guessed, or you might have guessed, I generated these emojis with AI. So basically, I wanted to get an understanding of how everybody who is listening to this presentation is feeling today. Because we all interpret and comprehend information based on how we feel, the mood we are into this. Because if you're feeling very sad, very bored, there is not much you can walk out from the presentation. So I hope you have at least you're answering yourself like, how is your mood? Happy or curious? So take a moment to figure out or think about like, how do you feel today? When you think of the word data strategy, what is the word that comes to your mind? So I'll give like 2 seconds for everybody to do that exercise. So let me do some guesses. I have done this exercise in person too before. Many times when the word data strategy is something we hear, couple of things comes to our mind. One is it is very detached. The other is it's very overarching, which is kind of sitting in its own bubble with no relevance to the day to day operations. Many times, to many people, data strategy could be something like it's something very abstract. And also, sometimes people think of data strategy as like something, a long term vision, which is very rigid. And so these are some of the words I would say many people answer it as it's either boring with like a 300-page slides or documentation, or it is rigid, not very tangible, not very actionable. It is extremely overarching. So, this picture is a very good representation of it. What I mean by that is, let's say we are thinking about moving to cloud, which is a push and which is a data strategy for many, many companies. So, what happens is the people who are making that data strategy decisions most of the times are different from the people who are really doing the operational or the doer role. So there is not even alignment between those two teams in terms of, so this picture kind of is very funny to show that, okay, the decision has been made. We all have to go to cloud. But the people who are really going to implement that are not very clear. What is this cloud? Where is the data going to go? So that is why they're saying, okay, if I fly this balloon, will it go to the cloud? Because many times data strategy is full of buzzwords and it's not like really very actionable for the people who want to do and implement. And there is no clarity as to even, okay, we have to move here, but why are we moving? Is there a business outcome? So the purpose of this talk is to say, give you a couple of examples and make you think in the direction like, instead of having a strategy discussion just as a strategy, there should be a tactical action plan to go hand in hand with it. Because one line of like, we have to do this is good enough as a 12-month strategy, but it doesn't mean we can really implement that. It has to be still broken down to a level so that people who have to do the work have an understanding, and also it is tangible enough to say, this is why I'm doing it. At the same time, data strategy should never be rigid. What I mean by that is, in today's world, it is like a very dynamic market. Everything changes so fast. New tools are introduced. We have AI, ChatGPT, everything. Anything could change in a fraction of seconds for that matter. So if that happens, your data strategy should not be rigid, like this is what we agreed to do it in the next 12 months. We should be able to pivot as and when we want so that we can really have a data strategy which is, first of all, achievable, which is tangible, and also which is something everybody understands. This is the reason why we are doing it, rather than some goals like at a very high level, we have to go there. So that is the purpose of this. So I thought of starting the presentation with something more funny for us to look through so that we all can relate to, because we are buried with so much of data. So we don't have a scarcity of data in most of the organizations. Actually, it's quite the opposite. We have the problem to align out of all this data, all these spreadsheets, what is that which is of value? That is what is the problem, rather than keep on collecting more things. So I am going to talk about only three pitfalls in this session. So the first is lack of alignment. So what is lack of alignment? Anybody who works in data space could agree to this. Lack of alignment means lack of alignment within data teams and the business, which happens more often than you may think. I'm going to give you two examples. With all the rush to get into ML, AI, and very personalized insights, and all those things, there is a lot of work that happens in terms of personalization. So, the example is, let's say your data team is very busy implementing so that it can send personalized messages, personalized everything. But this is the data team's work. They're very, very focused in doing this part of the world. Now, the business, on the other hand, is siloed, and the business is thinking, actually, my direction for this year is to try this new market. I'm not going to focus so much on this current market because I'm doing okay. I want to move it on to a different new market, which I feel that is where is going to be profitable for my business as a whole. So all this work which the data team was focusing on personalization was for the current market. So there itself, there is an extreme misalignment because these resources could have been used to do the work of something else when the business direction is to move in a completely different direction or a different market. So this is one example. Another common example is, because everybody will agree, we all want to become data driven. That's a motto most people have. What does it mean? We want to become data driven. So there is a quite a bit of investment to build data infrastructure, data pipelines, and so on and so forth. So, what happens sometimes is, in my second example, let's say your data team was very busy building this beautiful infrastructure over a period of 12 months, let's say, trying to, or that is their vision to complete it in 12 months. So you have this beautiful data infrastructure, but once that data infrastructure is set up, because that was your topmost priority from a data strategy perspective, to have the infrastructure ready on time. But once you are kind of working on it, the question is, okay, once this infrastructure is ready, what are the use cases I'm planning to implement? I mean, is there a real value? What is the profitability? What is the ROI for me to build this infrastructure when I don't have any clear business use cases I will be implementing? So, this is my second example of lack of alignment across, because we kind of invest in many things without open communication, which happens more frequently when the people who are kind of siloed, because it's not like a cohesive strategy. There is no cohesive strategy between business and data. So this is a problem, because it's not like we none of us have unlimited resources and dollars to spend. So the amount of money we have, let's invest in the right places. So this, let's see the solution for it. As you would have guessed, for this, one of the biggest solution is, although it sounds very simple, let's talk with each other. At that scale, when strategy discussions happen, most of the time the strategy discussion is focused on the strategy, which means data team thinks about, what do I want to achieve this year, in 12 months or 6 months, whatever your cycle of planning is. That is what data team thinks, with some input from business, but not a complete input. And so this is kind of a problematic thing, because business is thinking about a completely different strategy, and there is no alignment between the two parties. For a data strategy to work, there has to be alignment between both the parties, which is very easy to say, I would say, but having sit in all these discussions, it's not that easy to achieve many times. Decision making, because of how we function many times, decision making is in, or lack of decision making too, is kind of in different pockets. So because let's say IT wants to move into cloud or whatever the next best thing is, that could be a priority for the technical teams to work on for the next 6 months. And business wants to improve customer retention. So it's more like the decision making is like kind of segregated on both the sides. I have made this decision. That is what my focus is going to be for the next 6 months, without talking with the other party, or even talking in a way that you could kind of meet somewhere in the middle. Because sometimes the foundational work of data gets missed too, because it's not always like next, because there is a foundational element of data team that needs to happen too. So that is why that handshaking of both the parties is important, to say, okay, this is the decision we made. Sometimes it is growing pains or whatever. That is very, very critical to align. And innovation is an area, because with so much of data available, all these new LLM models available, there is a lot of ways, there is possibility for innovation, which also will not happen if there is one, alignment between the two parties. Second, unless there is a clear cut decision making, rather than you versus me. It should be more like, this is what is profitable for the business in the next 6, 3, whatever months or years, however we plan. That is extremely critical. My second pitfall I wanted to talk about is something close to my heart, because I work in analytics space. So obviously, I think all of us in this call will agree that most of the dashboards, no matter how much effort you put in, may not get used, which is very common. Because one example I will give. Many times, analytics teams, when they build a dashboard, what is the key metrics in your organization? When you build, you hand off, you have the perfect dashboard. What is the key metrics you kind of monitor after this dashboard goes to production? Most of the time, the key metrics I feel is being collected is either the usage metrics, like how many people are using my dashboard. that is actually flawed from the beginning because, yeah, there can be hundreds of visitors going to your dashboard, but let's say nobody uses it for any decision making. You have this beautiful Tableau or Power BI dashboard. Yeah, people click, but when it comes to decision making, people want to go to their Excels because they believe and trust that data more. Then what is the point of me having all this data dashboards being supported? Because by having dashboards flowing like a dashboard factory, like instead of having a collaborative approach of asking what is the answer you're looking through, is there an existing dashboard you can use for this purpose? Do I have to build you something new? None of these discussions happen. Many times the approach is more like it's more like, okay, I want this dashboard done in 2 weeks. And the data team works on, okay, let me build this dashboard in 2 weeks, rather than questioning whether I should even build it or whether you can use something else. So there is a data overload in terms of not amount, the sheer amount of data. It is also in terms of not clarity, like of how where should I go? Because there are all these dashboards everywhere, and there is all this data everywhere. Where do I go? In the pitfall, I also wanted to talk a little bit about very common thing which many people want. Self-service analytics is a very common topic across organizations. Let's, for a minute, think about data as a cake. If data is a cake, think of self service analytics as a piece of the cake. So, what exactly it means is everybody wants a piece of data for whatever they want, but everybody wants a slice of this cake. So, self service analytics, unless it's a very, very small company, it's something very tough to achieve because most of the times in the data strategy, it is more like let's enable self service to everybody, but there is not a clear vision when it comes to governance. How are we going to govern all these people? So, in the cake example I gave, I would say I see self service as like, okay, I want a slice of the cake, and the data team's approach seems to be, okay, I'll give you or let you have the slice of the cake. I don't care if you're going to cover your face with frosting, but that is what you asked for. So these approaches and a missing data culture and all those things adds more to the problem than solving much. So data democratization means something to different things to different people, which is a problem because in the data, we want to empower everybody with data is a very clear data strategy. That is what we think. But when it comes to the tactics of implementing, it is not as simple because you cannot enable everybody day one, because you have to have an assessment of how people are at a different learning curve, at a different space, so that it can be catered to individual needs. I also wanted to cover another fun topic in terms of data overload. To me, also means too much of analyzing of data because we have this tons and tons of data now. The data strategy is too focused on analyzing too rather than decision making. It could be a small thing, take it, use it, improve it is a better approach than keep on analyzing without taking any actions, which is kind of like it happens just because we want this perfection. There is never a perfect data. There is never a high perfect quality data. It improves over time. So that is something in data strategy we have to kind of understand that also when we go to the implementation part of it. Never wait for this perfect data or keep on analyzing so that you can improve the quality of the data. At some point, it is more like saying, can I live with this much of error? Is it okay? If it's 5% off, does it even make sense for me to solve and fix this direct data rather than I'll just use it? It's okay. A 5% error is okay for my market. So that is what I mean about it. So the solution are a couple of things which many times I have seen in my entire career, where most of the times it is not like we don't spend enough time building dashboards. We do actually, but it is many times the team's focus is to kind of cater to the needs of every request rather than prioritizing based on, okay, this is a low value dashboard, but if I deliver this dashboard, what business value, what business decisions will be made using this? That question most of the times doesn't get asked. Most of the times we ask the question of, okay, this is the scope of this dashboard that needs to be built. Will it take me 1 month? Will it take me 2 weeks? And how complex it is? Do I have the data for it? How much of quality data do I have? So those are the questions we ask rather than focusing on relevance. I have only this much of team capacity. My team capacity is of value only to deliver something of importance. That is one way of solving. Have clarity of delivering and able to say no. That's a skill. I think everybody needs to learn when it comes to like deliver things of value. My second point is about data quality leakage. Because when we say let's empower everyone, let's have self service analytics, let's have data for everyone as a data strategy, one thing that many times happens is data quality leakage. What I mean by that is we constantly keep on bringing data from an ingestion pipeline, let's say. After we get the data from an ingestion pipeline, we do some kind of data quality validation. But for data quality validation to happen in its completeness, business knowledge is something of very critical importance. And most of the times, we kind of validate it in terms of, okay, for a simple example, whether this field has value, yes or no. That's very easy to validate. But when it comes to this field shouldn't have these values, is a rule which we may not cover every rule. That's what I'm trying to say. That leakage many times for a lack of better interface or anything, it never gets caught in the ingestion phase. Rather, by the time we are ready to build analytic solution, the user sees and says, and they lack trust by doing that. They look at the dashboard and say, these things don't make any sense. The quality leakage happens too because of the same problem of focusing, spreading ourselves too thin to kind of deliver everything that is being asked rather than saying, I'm going to deliver this high value, good, relatively decent quality product. That doesn't happen many times. So that is how you can avoid. If you're curious, go back and think about all the dashboards your team supports and think about, if I shut down some of these dashboards, how many people are going to complain? Many times you'll be surprised. Maybe this particular dashboard has access to, let's say, 100 people. And if you shut down access for most of the people, many people may not even notice because that's what happens. We keep on building solutions without any relevance. And also, it becomes very tough for the end user to really find it because unless you have a great analytics platform where you can search and understand, okay, for answering this question, maybe I can go to this one. That is not very clear. We just accumulate things. Two other things I want to focus to solve the problem of data overload is building better data culture, which is not a topic we talk about data literacy to some degree, but we talk sometimes it's one or the other. It's not both many times. One is sometimes the technical challenges are never overcome. And I feel to solve the problem of data culture, technical problems are easy. What I mean by that is, let's say there is an infrastructure problem. I mean, we have to upgrade our tools. That's okay. There is some investment in that, but you can go to the market, get the tool you want, the product you want, implement it. But culture is a mindset. If we function only this way, mindset in general is very, very tough to change. So when we say let's open up data for everybody, one of the key aspects of opening up to everyone is to ensure that the data culture aspect, every organizations data culture is at a different level. And not just every companies, it's also within teams, because not every team will be exactly at the same level of proficiency when it comes to understanding data. There is a lot of difference between interpretation. If you want to test the data culture of your team or organization, you can run a test, show a dashboard, ask two or three questions, whether people are able to interpret. So that is readability of the dashboard. Just because there is a dashboard doesn't mean everybody interprets the same way. So that's the test you can run. Show something, ask a couple of questions, and see how many people really understand and follow your dashboard. And also, one additional way, in addition to data governance, I want to talk about is, um, as the industry itself, we have moved from pull versus push. What I mean by that is, there was a time when everybody was like, building dashboards and really wanted users to come to the dashboard and pull that information. Right now, we are shifting more towards to solve the data overload problem. Can I deliver the insights with AI? And it is very doable too with AI. So there should be investment and innovation around that topic instead of collating all these dashboards, to eliminate or to at least reduce the data overload. Instead of me expecting people to come to my dashboard and try to understand what is going on, can I go the other way? Can I just push the insights and they can sign up, which is pretty much every BI tool is giving us either Copilot or something in some form. Everybody has those capabilities. So that's an area. So can I just start pushing insights so that people don't feel overwhelmed with the amount of information? Rather, they could sign up. I only care about this one, two, three things. So just send me insights about that. Anything else, if I want to, I will go and look at it. So that is what I meant by solving the data overload problem. So this is my last pitfall I wanted to cover in this session, which is incorrect investment in analytics capability. What is an incorrect investment? Because many times what happens is either we are understaffed or overstaffed. That right sizing is sometimes very tough. The reason for right sizing being very tough is because there is sometimes overemphasis of technology. We want, I mean, obviously in technology space, there is always new innovative products coming to the market all the time. This is one of the industries which changes very frequently. So there is always a temptation. Oh, if I was doing it like this, maybe I can do it better. It can be more efficient. It can be more fast. Should I move in that direction? So there is overemphasis on that part. And also, by doing that, many times we are revisiting. I mean, let's say there is a as a company, if there is only Tableau, is what your enterprise solution was, and now you want to explore to move to a different BI tool. That by itself cannot be a data strategy, because moving just from one tool to another will not solve the underlying problems. And also, that is a wrong investment in the analytics capability. Maybe there is a different problem I should solve rather than moving to a newer technology, so that I don't waste my resources. Maybe there is a pressing business problem which I could assign my analytics capabilities to solve, that which is more profitable as a company. So that is one aspect of it. And also, many times there is incorrect or investment in analytics because of ignoring team skills. Because if we can go to the market and buy the latest tool, but what if most of the staff here don't have the understanding of how to use this tool? Uh, this happens many times because technology changes so fast. People have to be given the time to, there is always a learning curve. No matter how good any solution is, it is not going to be perfect right out of the box. So if you have a team which is very proficient in some other technology, then taking out that capacity to kind of work and learn, do that upskilling, Is it feasible? Is a question that needs to be asked before saying, okay, my data strategy is to move to this fancy tool. Yeah, it's great, but we don't have the people to support it. And so I need the time to upskill that. So those are all the scenarios in which there is kind of imbalance or incorrect investment into the analytics capabilities. We can solve it by somewhat having a clear business use case and also having the right kind of investment into upskilling the existing team, because the existing team is somebody who has the core business knowledge. So it does take some time for them to learn this new fancy tool, and also sometimes you have to tailor some analytic solution. um, I will give an example of that. So it is not like every problem has to be solved a certain way. Oh, somebody came to me and say, okay, I want a dashboard for it. Many times it's about tailoring, meaning I have to ask the question, is dashboard the right solution for this? Maybe not. So maybe instead of doing it this way, I can do some other way. So that also helps, because my analytics team members are not going to focus on building some dashboard which is not even a right solution to begin with. Rather, I'm going to tailor my solution to something else. Maybe I can use some other skilled person's capacity to do that. These are all the things how you can kind of have a right size, because gone are the days where there was a time in the market where I felt like data team was growing and growing and growing. I think current year seems to be the opposite trend, where I think many companies are pushing for a right sizing of data team. It's not like an unlimited budget of like how many ever data team members you want, you will have it. So hence it is even more critical in today's market to really use first to use the team capacity in more effective way to really deliver something which is a cutting edge, or if it is going to make a difference in your market, and also have upskilling of the team members so that they are as efficient as they can. So these are all the topics I wanted to cover. So thank you everyone for staying with me. I hope you learned something. At least you took away three of the core data strategy problems, and how analytics and data integration and all those things can chime in with business so that we make this a very holistic and a cohesive strategy for all of us to benefit from. The technology teams benefit, also the business teams benefit, and also we kind of build a data team's credibility by doing that as well. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can follow me on LinkedIn. I post quite a bit of my ideas. So if anybody is interested in following me, this is my QR code. So you can follow me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.